The Lexus UX is the most credible small SUV the brand has ever offered, pioneering self-charging hybrid power in this lifestyle-orientated sector. The establishment needs to take notice.
Sooner or later, every buyer in this segment is going to have to switch to a power plant that is in some way electrified. So if you're going to take the plunge now, Lexus reasons, why not do it with a brand that has over 2 decades of experience with that technology? Not that you've got much option if you're looking for a properly premium badged small SUV. At the time of this test, Lexus was the only car maker offering any sort of full hybrid engine in this segment. The UX uses a 2-litre, 181 bhp self-charging unit capable of a WLTP rated combined cycle fuel economy return of up to 53.2 mpg and an NEDC rated CO2 reading that can be as little as 94 grams per kilometre of CO2. Those readings are for the front-driven version of this car that we're trying here, which mates its petrol engine to a single electric motor mounted on the front axle. Lexus also offers a so-called E4 four-wheel drive version of this package, which adds a further electric motor onto the back axle so as to deliver the extra winter traction that many owners need. Light field tracks are also within this car's remit in all-wheel drive form, but you would be unwise to try to attempt anything more challenging than that. For a UX E4, the efficiency figures are quoted at 46.3 mpg and 103 grams per kilometre of CO2. Of course, UX motoring isn't just about efficiency. That hybrid powertrain is mated to a freshly adopted GAC global architecture platform that's more torsionally rigid than anything Lexus has previously used. And it's a chassis that's relatively light and also enables the UX to have the lowest centre of gravity of any vehicle in the class. As a result, it handles a touch more sharply than you might expect, and it's aided by an active cornering assist torque vectoring system which maximises traction through the bends. The car's petrol-electric technology means it offers a lot less pulling power than a direct diesel engine rival would, so you'll have to adjust to a slightly different style of driving. But what about the issue that previously affected Lexus hybrid models, the slight disconnect between the engine and its incorporated ECVT belt-driven automatic transmission? That used to mean throttle stabs delivered a flare of revs but not much appreciable forward motion. Well, you still get that with the UX, but not quite to the same extent. And the issues that remain are compensated for by quite exemplary refinement, particularly in town travel, where very often the engine hardly ever cuts in at all. Going back to a diesel rival after living with one of these would be something of a culture shock. And after trying a UX, there is just a chance you may not want to. Lexus design has always been angular and different, and the UX does indeed offer a distinctive take on what a small premium SUV should look like. As with all the company's modern models, this spindle grille is central to the styling theme. Its mesh in this case is made up of individual elements that seem to gradually change in shape as they radiate out from that central Lexus emblem. And in profile, well, you might struggle to call it beautiful, but it makes a certain kind of statement, with crisp, sculpted surfaces embellished in this case by this optional multi-layered blazing carnelian special metallic mica paint finish. As is becoming fashionable these days, the rear perspective is dominated by an LED tail light blade, which extends the full width of the tailgate. The lamp section in this case made up of an array of 120 LEDs and tapering in the middle to just 3 mils deep at its narrowest point. Inside, there are the usual signs of Lexus designers setting out to be willfully different. Not for them the minimalistic cabins that tend to feature in rivals. Instead, you get a riot of different surface treatments, massive buttons, and this fiddly touchpad that has to be used to control many of the functions of the centre dash infotainment screen, offered in either 7-inch form, as here, or in larger 10.3-inch guise. There are some classy trimming touches, and the instrumentation you view through the satisfyingly grippy 3-spoke wheel is a real cabin talking point. It's based on the layout used by the brand's old LFA supercar, with colours and graphics that change according to the driving mode you select. Press this steering wheel button here, and on an S Sport model, the central dial slides neatly to the right to reveal an informational panel. It's lovely. Okay, time to take a seat in the rear. To be fair, unless you're particularly infirm, getting in and out isn't too difficult because Lexus has optimised the hip point and the shape of the seat cushion. Plus, once you are in, although the gently swept up window line might for some combine with rear privacy glass to deliver a slight spirit of claustrophobia, the low set positioning of the bench helps a little to compensate for the lack of ceiling height. Finally, let's take a look in the boot, space within which is always a worry with any hybrid model. As is the case here, you have to hump your luggage over quite a high loading lip to reach this cargo area. And once you have, you won't be able to get much of it in. There's 320 litres of capacity here. When the rear bench does flatten, 1,231 litres of capacity is freed up, which isn't enormous, but which will probably be sufficient for the needs of most likely owners. You might wonder whether the market really needs another posh little SUV like this, but we'd contend that this segment wasn't really complete until Lexus properly entered it. True to form, the Japanese brand's the only one of the established players in this class to offer the option of hybrid power, and that in itself will be enough to garner this UX significant interest from a market where plenty of buyers want an alternative to diesel. That said, a UX is certainly not inexpensive and it can't quite offer the handling drive dynamics of its key premium rivals. Plus, it's smaller in the back and in the boot too. But for many likely buyers, those things won't matter very much. They'll appreciate this car's position as the cleanest contender in the class, and also the fact that it's one of the most economic contenders you could choose in this segment. What we think that they'll like most, though, is the way that it's interesting, unusual, and luxuriously sensible, as Lexus models tend to be.